Welcome to the Archives Without Tears Key Concepts series, Module 2, Collections Policy. These modules provide a very brief and basic overview of the more in-depth content available through the Pennsylvania State Archives 2-day Archives Without Tears workshop. These concepts were first compiled by the American Association for State and Local History, AASLH, as the Basics of Archives course. With funding from the National Historical Publications and Records Commission, the Pennsylvania State Archives adapted those principles into Archives Without Tears, or AWOT, an in-person 2-day workshop offering practical and accessible guidance for historical records repositories. This module, Collections Policy, is one in a series of key concept overviews. In this module, we will discuss what a collections policy is and how it affects your collecting decisions. At the conclusion, you'll become familiar with what your organization should collect, how it should collect, how to dispose of collections that are no longer valuable to your organization. These three elements are common to all collection policies, but the key to an effective policy is that it considers your organization's unique purpose and environment. Your policy should answer three questions. What subjects, groups, or region should your collections document? Are you a nonprofit historical society, a community group, a special collections library, or a government repository? What types of materials should your organization collect? Published books, oral history tapes, digital files, paper-based documents? There are numerous types of materials one needs to consider. Who are the primary users of your collection? Students, genealogists, business people, community members? Most often, a program focuses on one or more subjects or themes in their collecting, centering on many different people, events, and/or geographic areas. Your area of collecting should relate to your audience. What subjects are they interested in? What types of collections fascinate them? Consider what other types of organizations are in your area. You should avoid overlapping or duplicating interests. This will prevent competition for materials and ensure a broader historical narrative told by your organization. Acquisitions. Your policy should also lay out your organization's acquisition process. Acquisitions can come from three different sources: donation, purchase, where your organization purchases records for a specific sum, usually but not always off the internet or auction sites; legal transfer, through individual wills or government organizations; and loans, long and/or short-term. Acceptable formats is an area that is often overlooked when institutions begin assembling their collections policy. If you do not have the means to view microfilm, listen to microcassettes, or accession the hundreds of digital images on that donated stick drive, then you need to spell out in your policy what you can and cannot acquire for your collections. Down the road, should you acquire the ability to take in digital records or other formats, you can always change your policy to suit your institutional needs. Deaccessioning. There are several reasons why your organization should consider adding deaccessioning to their policy. The condition of the document or documents. Are your documents covered in mold and unable to be accessed? Are your newspapers a crumbling pile? Does the cost of preserving the document outweigh its continued use? Your collection may also contain unnecessary duplicates. An archival rule of thumb: you should only retain 3 copies of a pamphlet, brochure, or other like-minded document. You have a collection that is completely unrelated to your organization's mission and collection focus. If you are a local historical society and you have records pertaining to a family from another part of the state, it would be proper etiquette and space-saving action to deaccession said collection and offer it to an institution more in line with its subject matter. There are several things to consider before you can legally engage in the practice of deaccessioning. Do you own clear title to the object? Are there any laws that prevent your organization from deaccessioning the object? When setting policy and procedures, your organization should consider both the legal and ethical ramifications of the proposed action. The last thing to consider in your collections policy is whether your institution will loan your materials. A few things to consider if you choose to loan. Who will you obtain loans from for your institution? What criteria will you use to approve and deny loan requests? One criteria to consider: an institution's reputation, its ability to secure and maintain loans, and the value and importance of the loan subject. The length of the loan period. What is the cost of the loan? You should take into consideration insurance cost, collections prep, and transportation costs. A collection policy may change over time to reflect changes in your organization. Your goal should be to create a practical document based on a realistic assessment of your organization's scope and capabilities. When your program accepts historical records, it is making a commitment to take care of and provide access to those collections. Here are some things to consider. What are your program's financial resources? What money is available for salaries, supplies, and other items? An organization should not collect beyond their ability to take care of and preserve documents placed in their trust. How much space is available? Is your storage area full or empty? How much can you collect before you run out of room? If you have a limited capacity to store collections, your policy should set parameters for the size of the collection that you can accommodate. Can your program support materials that are in poor condition? The question to ask yourself: can you afford to hire a specialist in preservation or conservation treatments? If you cannot, then you should not accept them. Does your program have enough staff with training to manage records and make them available? If your program decides to collect historical records written in German or records on a particularly complex subject, will your staff be able to understand and help users with the collection? Who uses your collection? What kind of historical records would interest them? If your users are normally genealogists, then collecting business records of a scientific nature will not serve your users well. Once you have a general outline of your policy written, it would be helpful to show your work to other staff members whose input would be valuable. Once complete, your governing body should officially approve for acceptance. Remember, it is important to review your policy on a regular basis and use it as the guiding principle for the management of your collections. Thank you for viewing this module for Archives Without Tears Key Concepts. For the next in the series, please view Module 3, Appraisal and Accessioning. If you have questions or would like more information about the full Archives Without Tears workshop, please contact ra-statearchives@pa.gov. Thank you.